Morbius sucks. It's terrible and it's not good. Stick around for my full review here at the Beniverse.
As a result of my procedure, I have an overpowering urge to consume blood. For the first time in my entire life, I feel good. Yesterday, I could barely walk. Today, I don't know what I'm capable of.
Hello, my name is Ben Friedman here from the Beniverse, and today I am talking the newest Sony picture film, Morbius, starring Jared Leto, Matt Smith, and Tyrese Gibson. Boy, oh boy, is this movie bad. And I'm going to preface this because there's been a lot of reports this week about how bad Morbius is, how bad it's doing with critics, and it's currently at a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, again, if you don't know how Rotten Tomatoes work, they're not saying that this movie only has a 1.6 out of 10 stars rating. They're simply saying on a positive or negative, only 16% of critics gave it a positive/fresh review. And in that case, I totally understand why it's sitting at a 16% right now, because this movie is really bad. It's not the worst superhero movie that you have ever seen. It just isn't. It has moments of it that are competent. It is not just the quality of, let's say, a Batman and Robin, or a Howard the Duck, an Elektra, a Catwoman. It's not quite that level of bad. But what it is it's mediocre and lazy. It expects its audience to be stupid because it doesn't expect anything from its audience. It doesn't demand anything of you. It doesn't challenge you in any way. It's just so bland and predictable that they are just assuming that you are going to be in on it because you like the superhero craze. And I hope this movie proves them wrong. I hope this movie flops because they can't keep putting out movies like this. This movie's so predictably boring. You know every beat that it's about to hit. It's such lazy filmmaking from the beginning to the end. There is nothing inspired about this film. The direction is poor. The action's at times just really unclear. The CGI is bad. The makeup doesn't look particularly good. The score just straight up has riffs from it just ripped out from Hans Zimmer's The Dark Knight when there's literally scenes of that surrounding Morbius. It's just like, who thought this was a good idea? None of the characters are particularly interesting. Jared Leto's, to me, I don't understand what this guy's doing. I don't think he's a particularly good actor, or if he does have quality in him, he's just picking some terrible products, because in this movie, he's just bland. It's not even that he gives a bad performance, he just gives such an unmemorable performance. The only positive light that I will give to this movie is Matt Smith as the villain actually is pretty fun in this movie. He has a tongue-in-cheek humor about him with this character, and it doesn't even feel like it meshes with the film. Honestly, I think he just kind of did his own thing because he understood how bad this movie was going to be received, that he just took it upon himself to just have fun with the role and be any form of a bright spot in this movie. And that's what he is. He is the only good part of this movie. Just intentful. He steals the scene every time he is in. His character is so extravagant and over the top and cartoonish that it just gives the film personality. Personality that it otherwise lacks. Again, Jared Leto's sleepwalking through this performance. This is not an inspired performance from anyone. Whether it's the director, whether it's the writers, whether it's the stars, this movie is just so generic, boring, and you've seen it 100 times. You know from the beginning to the end where it's going to go, where it unfolds. And its biggest sin is its ending, because the ending actually makes the film worse because it's so cynical. And spoiler alert, spoiler right here, banner on. This movie just decides to make it a Sinister Six movie at the end without setting up anything. They just decide that Michael Keaton, who you saw in the trailers, that scene you saw in the trailers, that is him in the movie. That is the scenes they pulled from it. It is the post-credit scene. They showed in the trailer the post-credit scene. They just take it upon themselves, they put it in there, and they're just that's the movie you're going to get. They don't tie the fact that Morbius is a bad guy, that he has any relationships to Spider-Man. It is just simply at the end, Vulture comes back from the MCU now in the Sonyverse and just says, I am thinking of forming a team who's going to be up to some good. It's all related to Spider-Man. Are you in? And Morbius says, I'm intrigued. That's it. It's like, where did that come from? Aren't we to believe that Morbius is actually a good guy? What happened between where the film ends and that post-credit scene starts? It just leaves so many questions. I want to say to be desired, but I honestly don't care. I really do not care. I was just so unimpressed with this movie and how lazy it was. And it, like I said, there's just so little to enjoy here. This is not the worst film of the year. There are moments of fun in it. The action at times is entertaining enough. I'm not going to say it's great, but it does get you from scene to scene, and it is a short enough movie that I never felt completely like I was wasting my time. That's my shorthand review of this film. I did not feel like I wasted my day watching this movie. That's the best positivity I can have towards Morbius. Otherwise, it's a pretty dull film all around with just a incompetent lead in Jared Leto who just doesn't care to add anything to this character. They essentially asked him to just be quiet and mumble his way through a movie, and it's just so uninspired. People gave Sony too much credit after Spider-Verse and maybe the success of Venom, where they're like, oh my gosh, they can make competent movies. We see this is what they make. And they've made it time after time again. It's studio meddling from the beginning, whether it's Spider-Man 3, whether it's the Mark Webb Spider-Man films, whether it's issues within Venom. They just simply do not care to make anything higher than fluff. These films all look the same. They feel the same. The type of humor is the same. It just has nothing of substance within it at all, and they just are going to keep peddling out this type of movie until we just say, no, we're not going to keep seeing these movies. Now, trust me, I'm seeing Spider-Verse, but Spider-Verse proved to me that that was the exception rather than the rule of what Sony is making right now. If you liked Venom, you might like parts of this movie, but even then, at least Venom has Tom Hardy giving such an over-the-top comedic performance that there's fun within that. This one doesn't have that. It just simply has Jared Leto being quiet and brooding in this film. It's not fun. There's nothing to be had in there. And honestly, I just cannot say, stay away from Morbius. You are not going to have a good time. I don't foresee this movie having a strong box office weekend. I think this movie is going to be a huge flop, and I think yet again, we're going to see Sony trying to shoehorn a Sinister Six movie in without any success. Out of 4 stars, I am giving this a 1.5. It's truly bad, and it's just so incompetent in every way possible. So that's my review of Morbius. Thank you for listening, guys. I'm Ben at the Beniverse. Take care. Bye-bye.